So, my friend, it is time for some weekly wonderings and wonderings. Although, it's going to be 4 days, not a week. Sorry about that. Not that it matters to anybody, but despite the fact that this vlog is entitled Weekly Wonderings and Wanderings, or this series, I should say, I'm starting this on Tuesday, and I usually wrap it up on Friday. That means 4 days rather than a full week, but it's okay. My summer schedule has just gotten weird, so, well, it's not weird, it's just unpredictable. I never know what's gonna happen. Now, I have done a decent amount of reading, so I have a lot to catch you up on. I have my coffee and my scone, which I was, if you saw my vlog last week, I was definitely in my baking era. And I do want to do some more baking this week. I want to get more in the habit of doing my sourdough regularly and not leaving it for months on end in the fridge. But when you do that, then you have a lot of discard. So you have to like make stuff with the discard. So I made some scones and they're really good. So I have my scone and it's time to talk about the books that I read. To begin with, I finished reading Miss Austen. The Miss Austen in question is not Jane, but her sister Cassandra. And we are in the last few years of Cassandra's life. She's an older woman now. She's going to visit some relatives because a woman has passed away, and she is going to see if she can find any letters that Jane may have written to this woman so she can see if she needs to destroy them. If there's anything, too private or incriminating or whatever. That's the setup. Okay, so the home is her fiance who passed away. It's his family home. Anyway, so she's there visiting that home, and some things happen in the village with the people that she knows, and so there's stuff happening then that is not entirely historical. Some of it is, some of it isn't. But then there is her looking back with flashbacks to her life, primarily as it concerns her and Jane, the things that happened between her and Jane and their relationship. And then also there are the letters, which are all fictional letters. They're all imagined. They're not actual letters. So the story is told in that way. It's unfolded through those three different kind of perspectives almost. It's all mostly from Cassandra's perspective, sometimes from Jane's via the letters, but it still kind of has a way of giving you like three different points of view. So, or like three different streams of narration. So that is kind of an interesting way of telling the story. So I liked that about it, but there are some things I did not like about it. And the whole point of the story is exploring some possible motivations for why Cassandra destroyed all of Jane's letters. Now, historically in that era, people communicated a great deal by letters, and those letters were very private. It was sacrosanct. Other people did not read letters that were not addressed to them. Letters would be read aloud to one another, but that was in a situation where it was expected or explicit permission was given, or it was a known thing. But private letters between individuals were considered just that, because people who were very close to one another would have shared a great deal of private and personal information, opinions, etc. So it was very common back then for people to destroy letters when someone had passed away as a way of preventing nosy people from getting into their private business. So I don't think it's anything more than that. It's just an issue of privacy, honestly. But there's always, our modern minds, like, because we want to read those letters from Jane that were destroyed. We want to know, Cassandra, why would you destroy them? So that's what this book is about. And a lot of other readers have said that when we get to the conclusion, when we finally understand why Cassandra is destroying these letters, is a little bit underwhelming. And I agree with that. But I've been sitting with this book for a little bit, trying to understand what about it that rubs me the wrong way. Not like hugely. It wasn't a huge irritant, but it was just kind of like, Why? In order to explain why I feel that way, I sort of have to reveal that, underwhelming reason why Cassandra was destroying Jane's letters. So if you don't want to be spoiled, because that's sort of the whole point of the book, if you don't want to be spoiled, then please skip ahead to the next timestamp. But in order for me to fully express my thoughts about this, it's going to be spoilery. So here we go. As Cassandra is reading the letter, she's looking for something in particular about Jane. And that is her emotional and mental well-being, particularly during the period of her life after her father passed away. We know that period of time, Jane wrote nothing. I mean, that's pretty much an established fact. She put away her writing and she didn't touch it. Now, was she consumed with grief? Quite possibly, especially for a good portion of it, at least at the beginning. As far as we know, Jane and her father had a very close relationship and he was well loved by his whole family. So to grieve his passing, certainly, I can completely understand it taking some time, even years, to recover from that loss, to be able to write again. So there's grief. There's also busyness. His passing reduced their circumstances such that they had to provide for themselves more, in a sense. They had to do more for themselves. They had to seek lodgings. They had to take care of themselves, these three women on their own in the world. So it significantly increased the stress and responsibility in Jane Austen's life, leaving less time for her to devote to writing. On top of which, they did not have settled establishments, settled lodgings. Like, they kind of shifted around from house to house for a bit. That's unsettling. I can totally understand how she would not write as much during that time period. So here's the thing. Here's the spoilery part. In this book, the author Jill Hornsby paints that period of life as one of a series of episodes in Jane Austen's life where she struggled with mental health and well-being. And here's the part that I don't like about that. Because it seems to me that modern writers, especially women, when they are writing about Jane, whether it's biographical like Lucy Worsley or fictional like Jill Hornsby, and they're writing about Jane Austen's life, even though they obviously love her books, they're obviously big fans of her and her writing, it's almost like they want to hate her. Like, they want to cast her in the worst light possible. At least that's the way it comes across to me. Instead of just taking Jane Austen as she is revealed to be through what we have left of her, they imagine into her things that make her more like what they think she would have been like if they were her, or if a modern 21st century woman was Jane, even if it's not, Jill Hornsby exactly, maybe someone like, a modern woman living back then. But here's the thing that as this morning, as I was thinking about it, it really hit me. What really bothers me about it is that in doing this, Jill Hornsby inadvertently, and I don't think this was intentional on her part, but this is what ends up happening when you follow this track. She inadvertently stigmatized mental health problems. Okay? So what she's saying in this book, her point is that Cassandra wanted to destroy all of Jane's letters because Jane exhibited some mental health issues, basically depression and anxiety, in her letters. And Cassandra didn't want to reveal to the world that Jane was struggling with depression and anxiety. Now, did Jane Austen have depression and anxiety? I don't know. I don't think so. But if she did, I mean, like, it's a common human problem, right? It's a common issue. Like, it's something that all of us have at some point in our life, right? On one level or another. And sometimes I think as modern people, we look back and we say, well, they just didn't have the understanding of, or the, I don't know what the word is, the compassion maybe for mental health issues that we have today. And they stigmatized it, but we don't. But I'm sorry, the reverse is actually happening here. Because, let me see if I can lay this out in an orderly fashion. In all of the novels that I have read in the late 18th and the 19th centuries, written during that time, you will frequently find the characters, even the main character, even a heroic main character who is supposed to be a good person, they will at times struggle with their mental health. They will remove from society as if they had a regular illness. Like, they will go to their room, but not to hide from people, not to hide their illness. They will tell everybody, I am ill, I am sick, or, family and friends will tell other people she's not available, she's not feeling well. And so they would go and be, recover and rest, take time to themselves to recover their equilibrium, just as if they were physically ill. And so mental health episodes, particularly I'm speaking of depression, what did they call it back then? Melancholy, at least the way it comes across in all the fiction I've read, is treated like a normal illness. Like, she has a cold, she's going to go rest for the day. Oh, she has melancholy, she's not feeling well, she's not up to visitors. And they would let them take their time to recover and then rejoin the family. Now, obviously, there's a point where you can go too far with that perspective. If someone might decide that it's a lot easier to be sleeping away the day in their room with everybody waiting on them hand and foot, rather than face the struggles in their lives, obviously that's not ideal. But it seems like people were given the time to deal with their mental health. And it doesn't appear to me, at least in the novels, and even in like not novels, but like biographies of women and people who went through bouts of, like, they received bad news and then they were ill. They were physically ill, they were mentally ill for a little while. Not even ill, like their equilibrium was off. They were unsettled. They needed time to recover and to regain a more, I don't know what the word is, like a more normal, healthy state of mind and well-being. And sure, there was a lot you can say about mental health back then and how it was treated, and asylums and some of the treatments, especially in the Victorian era, that were experimented with and into the early 1900s, etc., and beyond. I'm not saying that there was always a healthy approach to it, but particularly when it comes to depression / melancholy, there seemed to be a general acceptance that it happens. It's kind of just like getting sick, and people need time to recover from that, and give them a little space, give them a little time to heal, and they'll be fine. It seems to me, like, I don't know, I haven't studied it. This is just based purely on observation from literature and stories from real life of people back then. I haven't studied the actual issue. So I could be way off base, but that's my perspective. And to me, on top of that, whether it was technically depression and anxiety or not, it seems perfectly reasonable for me that a grown woman would grieve the loss of her father, who was very dear to her, and that she would find it very stressful and anxiety-inducing to be thrown out into the world with no close male protection, reliant only on her brothers to provide for her in the world, and to carve out somehow a thriving life in the middle of that uncertainty and that distress. To me, that seems perfectly reasonable. It doesn't seem wrong in any way, or there's no stigma there. And I don't think there would be in any era. Most people who look back at that period of Jane Austen's life and say she never wrote anything during that time are perfectly capable to look at it and say, well, yeah, that makes sense. I don't know that I would have been capable of producing anything creative during that time myself. Your creative juices can dry up depending on the person. Some people are the opposite. They may get more creative. They may see it as an outlet. But when you're stressed and anxious and depressed, like, it kind of inhibits your ability to be creative a lot of times, depending on the person, like I said. So it's not weird. It's not wrong. It's not even socially unacceptable. I feel like it's perfectly normal. Like, am I missing something? I feel like it's perfectly normal. And I feel like Jill Hornby, by making it a big deal like she does in this story, like Cassandra was so intent on hiding any evidence of Jane's emotional state at this time and her mental state at this time, and is like burning all of it, then Jill creates an issue out of it that didn't exist. And that's what rubs me the wrong way about this book. And so in the end, I think I gave it 3.5 stars. I didn't hate it. I enjoyed Cassandra's perspective. I enjoyed hearing about more obscure aspects of Jane Austen's life and relatives and the people that she knew. So in that respect, it was enjoyable. It was an easy read. It was an engrossing read, an engaging read. I did have that issue with it. And the other tiny thing that I didn't hate, but I didn't love either, was that she took an episode from Jane Austen's life and made it Cassandra's, which is completely historically inaccurate. But the truth of the matter is we know very little about that specific incident anyway. So there is a lot of scope for the imagination there. A lot of stories have been written about that episode in her life. Well, since this is the spoilery section, I'm just going to tell you, when Jane Austen supposedly fell in love with someone when they were at the sea one summer, and then they fell in love, they made plans to meet, but then when she went back to meet him, he wasn't there, and it wasn't until sometime later they found out that he had actually died. That's how the story goes. Very little is known about that. It's a minor only because we have so little information about it. Nobody talks about it. Maybe that's what was in all the letters that Cassandra destroyed. I don't know. But anyway, that is given to Cassandra, and it's all explained how the perspective came to be that it was actually Jane's episode. So like I said, I didn't hate that, but also woefully historically inaccurate. I also finished reading Eat to Beat Your Diet. That was by Dr. William Lee, and I enjoyed that overall. I love the information that he gave. Like, he went through all of these scientific studies and reasons why certain foods engage your metabolism, which I find is especially important for me, you know, as the older I get. Like, how do you keep your metabolism active and engaged, and so that you're burning fat and not just constantly storing it? And so he goes through all of these foods as to why they are so effective. He describes it as Mediterranean, the way that he likes to eat, and that is combining the most healthful aspects of Mediterranean and Asian diets, and why they're healthy because of the way the foods are prepared or the ingredients that are used. He also gives tips for like going through the grocery store and choosing the best foods for you. He has lists of, you know, avoid these foods because they stall your metabolism. Seek out these foods because they energize your metabolism. All of that was very helpful. One aspect I really felt was missing was why the foods he put in the list as you shouldn't eat them because they're harmful for your metabolism. He did not go through those at all. He didn't even touch on them as to why. Like, so we have all the good foods. He went into great detail. Each one of them had its own at least paragraph, if not multiple paragraphs or pages, detailing how and why they were good for you. But the ones that were bad for you, some of it's obvious. Like, we all know refined carbs and certain types of fat are like really bad for you. Like, everybody knows, and that's undisputed information. So we don't need a lot of detail about that. But some of them are more disputed. Like, for example, dairy and meat. Like, on the one hand, you have carnivores who that's all they ever eat and they're perfectly healthy. But then you have other people who don't seem to do as well with those. Like, you know, what's the difference? Why is it? He didn't, and should everybody just avoid dairy and red meat? I don't think so. But also there could be a reason for some people too. And maybe I'm one of those people. I mean, he didn't go into the information about some things that are on the, you know, eat less of this list, which I really would have liked, because I would have liked more rationale behind avoiding some of those things. Not all of them, but some of them. I feel like that would have been super helpful. Also, he is very hyper focused on metabolism in this book, but that's the purpose of the book. So I don't fault him for that. But at the same time, it doesn't take into consideration other helpful factors of certain foods. Like, maybe it's not super great for your metabolism, but it has a lot of other benefits. And so it can be useful in conjunction with other foods in a diet overall. So it's not like an exhaustive list. Like, this is all you need to know about what you need to eat, you know. But it is, I do think, an excellent place to start. You know, it's not really new information. It was just presented in a very, no pun intended, digestible way. So I did appreciate it. I did enjoy reading it. I learned a lot from it. Like I said, not new information per se, except there were some, like, I learned about brown fat. I'd never heard of brown fat before. That's a thing. If you want to learn more, read the book. And there were other stuff that I learned about that was new information for me. But about the foods itself, it was nothing surprising. Like, the foods that he mentioned are ones you hear about a lot that, you know, are healthy and you should eat. Mediterranean diet is not a new idea. Combining it with the Asian is a fresh idea and kind of expands the horizons a little bit. It's really just eating healthfully and consciously. And actually, sourdough and coffee are on the list of foods that are good for your metabolism. Although I was very sad when he said, when I read that, when you add dairy to coffee, it kind of encapsulates the element, the specific thing in the coffee that kickstarts your metabolism. Dairy will kind of encapsulate that and keep it from getting into your bloodstream. So that's super not helpful, but you know, that's okay. My solution to that is I'll drink a cup of black coffee every morning, and then any other coffee I drink through the day, I'm gonna add milk to it because I feel like it. Anyway, so I read that. And then I needed to pick a card. So I picked a 2, and 2 was participating in a summer readathon. And so I went with Victoria's at Hot Cocoa and Books. I chose her summer bingo, and she had on there one which was like to go on a trip or go on a vacation. So the one that I actually picked for that is perhaps a bit of a stretch, but there were trips to vacations. So let me go get that real quick. Well, there aren't any vacations, but there's definitely travel and trips in here. And that is Love and Friendship by Jane Austen, which is a short little story that she wrote when she was 15 years old for the amusement of her cousin. It is epistolary, and she is making fun of the popular novels of her day. It's very much satirical, and it is hilarious. It is so funny. This is like one of the funniest things I've read in a long time. Maybe not guffaw, but oh my goodness. And it's everything is just so over the top. It's crazy. Okay, sorry, I was interrupted by a phone call. But anyways, don't remember exactly what I was saying, but Love and Friendship is so hilarious. I'm not sure that any of the humor in it would translate outside of the context of the story, so you really have to read it. It's not very long, but it's really funny. Just to keep in mind that she is totally making fun of a certain type of novel, and so everything is over the top, everything is exaggerated, everything is ridiculous, and the result is funny. So I actually finished reading that this morning. That was pretty short. So I really should pick another one. Oh, and I also picked up Common Sense, but I think I'm going to do a separate vlog for that one. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And now let me pick a card for what else I should pick up to read in the last couple of days of July. So, oh, King. King is a random choice by color, letter, or number. And I don't have any more must-reads, but I do have a lot of Jane Austen July options. Like, these are all like Jane Austen related. Some of them fit prompts in Jane Austen July, and some of them are just kind of related. So let me grab my stack. I think I'm going to do by number. So I have a stack here of books that are some nonfiction about Jane Austen, as well as some Regency era books and or Jane Austen-ish retellings. Ooh, I have one more I want to add. Okay, so from the bottom up, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm going to pick a number between 1 and 9, and that is the book I will read. Let's see, today's the 28th. It might be my last one. I don't know. I might be able to squeeze another one in there. So, number generator 1, 2, 9. Generate. And 8 is the number. Oh, you can't see it. So, whatever. You're just going to have to trust me. It's 8. So, that is this one, which is the most recent one that I've picked up. This was at the thrift store, and it's by M.C. Beaton, and it's Daughters of Mannerling series, so this should be a quick and fun read. So I will read that. But I also remembered that I forgot to tell about another book. This so-called vlog is going to be very long, even without me vlogging anything. So I read the Manga, which my sister gave to me a couple years ago, and it was fun. It was cute. It was a fun adaptation of it. And it is an adaptation. There are some slight changes to the story. nothing that affects the overall idea or point or themes or plot or characters or anything. Like it's very true to Austen, but it is an adaptation. There are slight changes to the story. It's not a straight retelling. I mean, mostly it is, but there are some slight changes. And it is, it's in the style of manga. So, the drawings and everything is very much manga style. And it's in the Manga Classic series, which is a fun way to read classics. So, overall, I enjoyed it. Like, manga's not really my thing, per se, but it was a fun little foray into the world of manga. So, wrapping all of this up for now, I will be back later with more of my weekly wonderings and wanderings. We shall see what I will get up to as we go on. Okay, spying into my neighbor's yard. I was out here filming a totally different vlog video. Oh my goodness, can you see it? Under their deck. Oh, where did it go? Oh my word. Oh, come back out, buddy. Okay, there was a possum. And it shouldn't have gone anywhere. We can't see it so fast. Where did it go? I mean, you can see that squirrel, but you see a squirrel every day. A possum is another thing altogether. But where did it go? So, okay. Oh, look at my crepe myrtle blooming. Although, it does. We just had a thunderstorm, so it tends to get a little bent over in the rain, but it's blooming. It's lovely. Lovely. Okay, I see the possum. It's on the other side of, it's in the stairs. Oh goodness. I don't want to get closer because I don't want to scare it. But it's there in those stairs. I'm trying to focus on it. There's a possum. I'm pretty sure it's a possum. Over there. I'm trying to get a better view of it. Is it climbing up the stairs? It's climbing up the stairs of the deck. Okay. You were not allowed to visit my deck, possum. I mean, you're cute and all, but no. Nope. I'm gonna see it on the deck.
I see it, yeah.
Okay, well, I lost sight of the possum after it got up on our neighbor's deck, and I don't want to go, any closer videoing because, that's a little sus. But, here's a bunny. He's so cute. I guess the, thunderstorm we had must have generated a lot of, or I don't know, what's the word? Stirred up a lot of food sources for all the creatures, because they're all, sorry, the bug crawling on me. They're all, foraging, looks like. It is Thursday afternoon, and I have just been to teach my piano students. And just now, after teaching them, I ran into the library because that library had a hold come in for me. And consider this added to my August TBR, Where the Lost Wander by Amy Harmon. I've been wanting to try Amy Harmon as an author for a while, and I just haven't. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to get to this one, but obviously it fits thematically. I mean, you can see the wagons right there. And I want to try her. I have priorities first above this one, but I would love to get to this if I can, and I'm glad it was able to come in from the library on time. And then in the book sale portion, I picked up O Pioneers by Willa Cather. Now, I have this book, but I really liked this edition. I loved the cover of this one more than I like the cover of the one I have at home. So this was 50 cents, and I thought, why not? I'm going to put my old one on Manga books probably. So it's from 1992. So it's vintage by this point, but I just like it. I just like the cover. I don't know. It's beautiful. This week has been a little weird. My son has been sick. I've been trying to help him get better, taking care of him, sticking pretty close to home other than running a few errands here and there. And like today I went to teach my piano students. So it's been a strange week. I haven't done as much reading as you might think, being home a lot, because when I'm home, like I feel guilty just sitting down and reading during the day. I feel like I need to be doing something. So I haven't done as much reading as you might think. I have almost finished Folly by MC Beaton, and it's okay. There are things that I like about it. Like the characters are very interesting, and the plot is very unusual. It's not your typical run-of-the-mill Regency romance story. There are some twists and turns and some intrigue and some mystery all tied up in it, and it's creative in that way. I'm just not getting along with the writing style. I'm finding it kind of elementary and stilted a little bit. And I know for sure there was a word in here, subsequent, was used to refer to something prior. Like, I think she used the phrase subsequent owners. That would mean later owners, but she meant earlier owners. So prior owners or previous owners. I don't know. To me, that's so basic, like such a basic problem for a book that's traditionally published. How did it even get there? I don't know. But anyway, I'm not a huge fan of the writing style, so I don't know that I'll bother to pick up any more books by this author, but I only have a chapter or two left of this one, so I'm going to finish it up, and I want to see how everything works out in the story, if nothing else. And I've also been continuing to read In Common Sense, but again, I'm vlogging that one separately, so I'll talk about that in a different video. So that's all I've got reading-wise. Today's July 30th. Tomorrow's the last day of July. I don't know if I'll pick up anything else. Ironically, everybody else in my family has a crazy next couple of days, but not me. I don't have as much on my plate. So I may have time to read. But then again, if I'm mostly at home, like I said, I don't know how much reading I'll get done. So at the very least, I'm going to finish Folly and I'm going to make progress in Common Sense. Can't promise anything other than that, but I guess we'll see. Okay. So I decided that I'm going to finish reading this book as soon as I can this evening. And then I'm going to see if I can pick up one more book and finish it by tomorrow night. Can I do it? I don't know. That might be a lot of reading, and I don't know if I can do that, but I might try. First step, though, to finish this book. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Okay, I finished this one. It wasn't it. I mean, there were some aspects of it that were creative. There were some aspects that could have been unique, interesting, if it had been executed better, but it wasn't. So I've read mysteries by this author, MC Beaton, before, who also publishes under the name Marion Chesney, I think. And I remember more or less enjoying them, but this one, I don't know, like 2.5 stars. Wasn't terrible, horrible, but I don't know. The writing just wasn't great. very, very many parts of the plot. Sorry, I think that's terrible English, but anyway, there were many plot points that were just completely improbable and also ridiculous. And yeah, not a favorite. Apologies to anybody who really enjoys it. I'm glad that someone enjoys it. Okay, sorry. Resituating here. I'm going to see if I can pick one more book to read for the Deck of TBR-a-thon for July. There are a couple of options that I really would like to get to if I can. 10. And here's what might happen. I might keep drawing cards until I get one that I want. I know, I'm bad. Let's see. I should know what 10 is because I've drawn it before. Beep-doop, beep-doop. Your initials in the title. Okay, 1, 2, or 3. So the one is the crevice. The crevice has no initials. A Heroine's Guide to Life and Love. So if it has 3 of my initials, that can be any of the letters in the title anywhere, right? It doesn't have to be like the beginning of a word or anything, right? Am I understanding that correctly? Because, my friends, all three of my initials are in this title because there are a lot of letters here. Dear Jane Austen, A Heroine's Guide to Life and Love. One final Jane Austen July read, and let's see if I can get this done before tomorrow night. So I finished Folly by MC Beaton last night and talked about that already. And I got started on the last book that I want to finish today, which I don't know if I will, and that is Dear Jane Austen, A Heroine's Guide to Life and Love. And it's going to be an easy read, but the question is, do I have time to read all 150 pages of it today? I don't know. I started off with the preface, which sets the scene of Jane Austen answering these letters from lovelorn young women wanting advice on life and love. And the thing that is a little bit hard to wrap my brain around is that it sets Jane Austen writing in Chawton, where she lived towards the end of her life, and after her books had largely been published. It's set at the time when she had just finished writing Persuasion. And so it's set then, and she's answering these letters, but all of the letters are from modern, contemporary 21st century women. So it's a little bit like weird, like not weird, but time bending, you know? So, and then Jane Austen in her letters, she's writing as if she's very familiar with modern society and authors that we would know about, but she would not have, like Virginia Woolf and the Brontes and all of this stuff. So that was a little bit tricky to get used to. If it just had started with chapter 1, which is from that point, it just goes to the letters and then Jane Austen answering them as if from beyond the grave, right? Like if like that makes more sense than putting her in her actual timeline and writing from there. That doesn't make sense. Am I making sense? Maybe I'm not making sense. Anyway, so that was a little weird. The introduction, the preface was a little bit weird, but I think the actual letters will be interesting and funny because the whole idea is that there's a lot of insight and truth into life and relationships that Jane had. And that's why her books are so well loved, because they do have that insight into human nature. I do think that it will be an interesting read. And I do think that the author has done, what is her name? Patrice Hannon has captured Jane Austen's voice pretty well for someone who isn't actually Jane Austen and who is a couple hundred years removed from her. I do think that she did a good job. So my omelet, my oatmeal with peaches. Ready to eat my breakfast. So quick update on this. It does continue. Okay, this is Dear Jane Austen, A Heroine's Guide to Life and Love, which I was talking about in my previous clip. It does keep going back to where Jane is sitting in her drawing room and answering the letters. And also she's describing interactions with her sister Cassandra and her brother Henry and other people. And it's just difficult for me to, I don't know, to put it in its time and place because it's not really in one. And that's sort of making it difficult for me to enjoy the book. The other issue is that a lot of the letters that people are writing are like what you would expect them, like Aunt Agony letters, all about, problems with love lives and relationships, etc., etc., etc. And I'm just finding these problems not to be very compelling. I am enjoying the author's answers to these questions in the voice of Jane. I feel like she's doing a fabulous job. I think that she's responding in a way that Jane, by and large, would have, and not necessarily in a 21st century idea of what she should have. So I feel like it's really well done. It's just maybe not for me, but I'm trying to get to page 50 so I can put it one more book for the Deck of TBR-a-thon, because you have to have like up to 50 pages, right? And like a DNF will count, but if you read up to 50 pages. Am I right? I'll double check on that before I actually put it in. But that's my goal. I'm going to get to 50 pages and then I'll reevaluate if I want to keep going or not. And I don't know that I'll be able to finish it if I decide to go past the 50 page mark. So that's unfortunate, but we'll decide. We'll decide when I get there. Okay, so I looked it up, and the Deck of TBR-a-thon rules are that DNFs count, but you have to read 50% of the book, not just 50 pages. 50% of this book would be like 75-ish pages. And I'm on page 25 right now. The truth of the matter is I'm not keen enough to finish it to read another 50 pages today. It is almost 7:30. I might, but I'm not going to kill myself to do it. And I also, because of the things I have going on tomorrow, I need to get this vlog wrapped up and uploaded. So I won't be able to post an update at the end of this video as to whether or not I actually read those next 50 pages. So I guess we're going to end this on a cliffhanger. Stick around until next week to find out. Did she or did she not read up to 75 pages of Dear Jane Austen? And with that, I'll see you next time.